What up? How y'all doing?
Hey.
So what y'all think about the message today?
It was good. It was enlightening. I like different perspectives. Or whatever, and being able to see Leah's perspective was really cool.
I really never heard anybody touch on the way that he did as far as Leah's perspective, man. It was very insightful, you know.
And the crazy part is that a lot of times I think we all share all three perspectives in it, but we never really discuss the various views of it. So when you look at it from Leah's standpoint, you know Jacob's standpoint of what he wanted.
Right.
But we never look at it from the standpoint of how we can, the duality or trilogy or whatever you want to call it, of looking at all three and making that applicable to our lives. So
Yeah.
it's really dope conversation.
Yeah, I found it very interesting. Like, I believe, you know how you look at the story. You know the story of Jacob, how he was a deceiver. Then he finally felt like he was gonna do right. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna get this girl. And then he was deceived. He was tricked, right? I wonder, do you think that the way Jacob treated Leah was because he was still angry, because he was deceived, and that's why you really couldn't find a way to love her? Because I'm mad because I was deceived. So I can't love you because you're not really who I want.
Can is such a strong word, though. Can is such a strong word. I think you can do whatever you want to. I think he didn't want to because of what he wanted.
Right.
And so I think he took that out on Leah.
Right. Yeah.
Because of the fact that he felt he received what he had been dishing out for so many years prior to. And because he was hurting, he was feeling with the hurt that he was dishing out, his only response was to do that same thing to Leah.
Right, yep.
So,
man, that goes back to, I know we now heard the saying that hurt people.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Think about that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can't take what you dish out.
Right, most of the time, right.
Like,
people, you can give a joke, but you can't take one, right?
Exactly. So it's like you've been living this life your whole life,
Right.
doing all of this, and then the time it gets done to you big mad.
Yep. Now you want to get right and do right. Now somebody got you.
Exactly.
But it also depends on the person too, because sometimes that sends them deeper. They're hurt even more, knowing what it feels like. So now I've got to hurt another person because somebody got me, not knowing that I had inflicted this on someone else prior to.
Right. So what you think about Leah? Do you understand why Leah did what she did? Do you think it was love or desperation? What do you think it was? Coming from a woman's perspective, that's what I'm asking. I just want to know.
I feel like as a woman, like we always just want to feel loved and we want to feel like we're needed and wanted. So like, I feel like that's probably just really what she wanted. Like, I want you to want me and I want to be able to give you what you need, and I can give you what you need, but you not want it from me. And that's like a slap in the face, especially to a woman. Like, I'm giving you this and I'm giving you this and I'm showering you with this, but you're not taking it because you want it from another woman,
Right.
or whatever. But yeah, that's like because I know that's really a huge insecurity thing and a huge, like, you're trying to get it from somewhere that you shouldn't necessarily be needing it from.
Right.
Like, that's something that you should be getting from God. Like
Right.
he said in the sermon, like, God is sitting here waiting for you, and it's like everything that you're wanting from this earthly man, I have it. Like, if you just look my way or whatever. So I feel like that's where let me not say I know me, I may fall short, because it's like I'm searching for something, but like I'm not searching in the right place to get it from God, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but we fall in that too, because you're not the only one dealing with that. You know,
Something I don't like speaking about the people.
Yeah, no,
but
that's the, we all fall short in different areas and different aspects. So
yeah,
you feeling that way as a woman, men feel that exact same way in certain areas. Crazy thought, but I was thinking about the whole episode of Fresh Prince where Will's dad leaves and tries to leave before he gets back on the road. And at the end, he's like, "Why you don't want me anymore?" That's that same insecurity situation, because he's looking for that from his dad, and he has that in representation of Uncle Phil. But he wants it from his dad, so he's not going to see what he's getting from his Uncle Phil based upon the way he wants that craving and that love and compassion from his dad, his actual dad.
It's funny because I think that's a really good point, because she forgot how God already worked in her life by allowing her to have kids, but she couldn't see that blessing because she wanted something that was more tangible, I guess, and that was Jacob. Other than just God just bless you. He worked in your life. He's right there with you. Like. So that I thought that was really good.
So interesting that we think sexual actions, I guess maybe as women, that we think sexual actions is going to like get a man or keep a man or whatever. I just find that really interesting because I just wonder why that is.
Right. I think maybe because we always try to please the flesh. Think the flesh can speak louder than the spirit sometimes.
Yeah. I know that's what I learned for sure, that like I will never be fully satisfied with things on earth. Like it will be God giving me everything that I need to satisfy like every one of my desires and needs and wants and stuff. So that was my like biggest takeaway.
That's a good takeaway. So
I wonder what happened with Uncle at the end of all this. Maybe I need to go back and finish reading. But what happened to Uncle in all this? We know the dynamic of Leah, Rachel, and Jacob, but the uncle played a very, very key role in all of this. But we never really touched on that piece of it.
What happened?
So there may be a part 2, maybe possibly.
Ooh, part 2. Okay, what happened with Rachel?
There's so much more. Yeah. After.
I know that Rachel later on ended up being mad with her sister because she was able to give Jacob children and she wasn't, and she began to envy her. So, and she was kind of forcing Jacob, like, give me a child or I'm gonna die. And I think that kind of made Jacob. It made him angry, and that's how the story pretty much went.
So, question for you then, with that point, do you think could that potentially be punishment for Jacob's actions?
But that she couldn't give a kid.
Yeah, or Rachel.
I really don't know. I don't know. That's a good question though. You think that God was punishing Rachel by?
I don't think it's Rachel. I think Rachel was the recipient of it, but I think maybe it was possibly God punishing Jacob because of how he had been treating Leah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because like PA said in the message is that during the time you could have kids or you couldn't, and if you could have kids, all well and dandy, but if you couldn't, then something was wrong with you.
Yeah, they had a culture saw it.
Yeah,
like something must have been wrong. Right.
So, but I don't think anything's wrong with Rachel. I just wonder if that could have been a situation where that could have been a punishment of sorts to Jacob for not following through with what he had agreed to on the front end when it came to having a conversation with Uncle.
And that sucks. Like someone else. Is that how that works? Like someone else having to pay for like what you did or whatever? Like if that were the case, just hypothetically speaking, like.
What's that?
Like if Rachel not being able to have children because of Jacob's actions, because I guess she would have been connected to Jacob or whatever.
Well, again, I don't think, and again, this is a different time and different conversation, but it may not necessarily be the fact that Rachel was barren. It may be a situation that Jacob couldn't.
Right. That's what
I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It doesn't.
So not Rachel, but it could
have been.
And in that culture, it would go back and look at it from a standpoint of where something's wrong with me.
Exactly.
As a woman, quote unquote, because I can't, because he's had children over there.
For a woman that couldn't bear back then was a shame. It was like a shameful act. It was really shameful.
Right.
Not being able to have kids. So
So I mean, like I said, it's not necessarily God punishing Rachel for Jacob's actions, but maybe it's the fact that because Jacob wanted Rachel, that was his way of punishing Jacob.
Right. It's almost like God saying, I know what you want, but this is what I'm going to give you. This is what you need. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Gotta live life right. Got to live life right. Because, man.
I'm just thinking about how long you gotta carry that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Like what she was talking about earlier, generational curses go passed down from generation to generation, right?
And I was thinking that like Jacob is this way because what was it? Because his grandfather. It was
from times before him, right? It was already in him, right?
So like, and that's crazy because it's like, is it even your fault?
Right.
That you're like this? Like it's just something that's just instilled in you from birth.
Yep. But I guess at that point, once you realize it, you have to be the one to break the cycle.
It's up to you,
know
yeah.
what I mean? You
So
have to be the one to break the cycle.
Yeah, that's up to you to do it. I feel like that's anything in life. Because there's so many things I'm like, ooh, I see my parents and it's like, I gotta make sure I change that. And I change that because I see it in me. And that's not something I necessarily want to take on in my life. So it's like being self-aware and conscious of.
And you know, it's funny. I think we all battle with two versions of ourselves. I really do. I believe we all do.
To expound on that.
I mean, what I mean is, I believe that, like, you take, for example, I think I was talking to somebody, I said, we all have the potential to kill somebody, right? We all have the potential to do something like that. But it's in that moment that we get angry and we're like, man, I'll kill you. We know, I all probably said that before.
Yeah.
But we don't act on it because we know how to balance sanity and insanity. So that's what I'm saying. I think we all battle with that. But it's only certain people that can pretty much control the other side. So I look at Jacob's story, like I believe Jacob was in a constant battle with himself all the time. From Jacob to Israel. And this, I think that we all battle with that. We all go through it.
That's true.
And the crazy part is this morning, I was reading my devotional. We were talking about restoration. And part of the message this morning was referring to generational curses. And how a lot of the things that we struggle with and suffer from now are things that are been passed down to us from our grandparents and our grandparents' and all of that.
Yeah.
And until we get to a point that we're strong enough to say, hey, addiction is not going to be my downfall.
Right.
You know, me being a participant in my child's life is not going to be my downfall. We have the ability to break that once we make our minds up, we make our decisions of it, or we can continue. In this case, with Jacob, we can continue down because that's what I know. My granddad did it, my dad did it, so I'm gonna do it too.